G'day avocado enthusiasts and welcome to this video, and I also want to extend a really warm welcome to anyone who's coming from another plant YouTuber who linked this video because of the challenge that I was a part of. In this video I'm going to show you how I grew this Philodendron Gloriosum to be this size in a very short amount of time. So if you're here interested in learning how to really do that, maximize your Philodendron Gloriosum's growth, you're going to get that in this video. But this video is also summarizing a bit of a competition that some plant tubers and I had over the last 6 months or so, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's been a bit of a ride, and I'm going to apologize. I'm going to go back in time in a moment to early March, where I started this challenge, where I talk about my plan, where I pot it up and start the whole thing. But I do need to apologize because I lost the audio file to that one, so I'm just using the camera audio. It's a little bit echoey and there's a bit of street noise when I go outside to pot things up. So I apologize for that. The rest of the video is going to sound as crisp as it is now, but please bear with me throughout that. Without any further ado, let's go back in time and talk about this challenge. I am joining a bunch of fellow plant tubers to try and transform a plant on a budget. I believe I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because I live in the Southern Hemisphere. This challenge is going to run for the next 5 months, starting in March of 2023, which of course is my autumn and then winter, whereas those folks in the Northern Hemisphere will be going from their spring to their summer, which is of course a much better growing time. So I'm considering that with what I'm choosing to do today. So the challenge for me is to spend less than 15 Australian dollars on a plant and then care for it to transform it into the best version of that plant it can be. I know that a lot of the other plant tubers doing this are choosing plants which are already looking a little worse for wear, and they're going to use their knowledge and skills to transform it into something beautiful. I can't wait to see what they're doing. But knowing that I live in the Southern Hemisphere and it's going to be cooler, I want to give myself the best chance of producing a really lovely plant. So that is what I'm doing today. So I'm not going to be looking for a plant that is dying, because I think I'm going to have the best chance of success if I get one that's already doing pretty well. So with that in mind, I headed to Bunnings. We needed to buy a plant for less than 15 Australian dollars, or equivalent in whatever currency they're using from all over the world. And we decided that we weren't going to do private sales because we could get all sorts of strange things through that. So we wanted to go to a store, preferably, well, I went to a big box store, I went to Bunnings, and I was shocked to find this Philodendron Gloriosum for less than 14 Australian dollars. Now I do have another one of these. It's only very young. These have only really become more widely available and affordable in the last year or so. And I'm just thrilled to find this plant with all of its leaves. They're all looking pretty good. It's got a new one coming out, a good number of nodes for less than 14 Australian dollars. Now my plan for this plant is to put it in a pot, of course, and to grow it up a moss pole. I'm just going to use a coconut coir moss pole. I know that there are better options, but I didn't feel like making one. I want to keep it fairly straightforward. So I'm going to pop this one up and we're going to get started. I'm going to pot this up now. I'm going to pot it in terracotta. Now, usually I would actually pick a pot that was a closer size to the original nursery pot, but I want this to fill out as fast as possible, so I'm using a really well draining soil mix. So I'm using my own mix. I am using 1 part cocoa peat, which is an offshoot from a byproduct of the coconut industry. I'm also using today, instead of vermicompost, which is my preference, but because I moved towards the end of last year, I reset a worm farm. My worms are pretty unproductive over summer, so I don't have any vermicompost to harvest at this point. So I'm just using some seedling mix, which is largely compost, and then I'm using a whole lot of perlite. I want really well draining soil. I know I'm using a bigger pot than is ideal, but I do want it to fill out sooner, and I'm not going to get a chance to repot it over winter in order to get the best growth that I can for this particular challenge. So I'll probably go on a size too big for the pot, but we'll do our best to avoid root rot by putting in lots of perlite to help it drain. I've also thrown in a bit of slow release fertilizer I'm actually using a tomato and vegetable mix, so I've not used a lot in order to encourage that growth. Without any further ado, I'm going to repot this here. I'm going to use this Coca-Cola stake for the Philodendron Gloriosum to grow up, placing that about in the center. I should have enough space to put the Philodendron itself to one side of the center. Let's get to it. Should have brought a tool to do this up. I'm just using my hands to scoop mix into the base of the pot, which is fine. The reason I'm using terracotta is because I just like terracotta because of how well it drains, and because it's porous, it wicks water away, which means we're preventing root rot. It's time to get our plant here and put it in. It's got a good healthy root ball. It certainly needs repotting. I'm breaking up the base a little bit to encourage it to branch out. We'll give the roots a tickle, and we'll kind of make a bit of a spot for it here. That will do that. So I'll backfill now, and we'll eagerly, I hope that'll be okay. I gave it a really good water using a worm tea mix. Then when it was in its sunny position, I tied it onto the coir pole using some Velcro ties. I really like using Velcro ties. I use them for most of my plants that need to be attached to a pole of some kind or a trellis, just because of how easy they are to use and how reusable they are. I monitored the moisture level of the pot, and when it was dry, I would bottom water it. I took some water-soluble fertilizer every second watering, and I mixed it into the water. I would sit it in the water for a couple of minutes, and then I would return it back to its spot. I bottom water because it's an effective way to water, I find, and it also prevents fungus gnats, which I really don't like. And it was an absolute joy watching it grow over the next few months as it started pushing out some really lovely, large, luscious, velvety leaves. After the 5 months of growing these plants, it was time to gather as a houseplant community, as some plant YouTubers, to talk about what we had done. So this is what I had to say to the other YouTubers. Yeah, so I'm the only one in this challenge in the Southern Hemisphere, so I bought mine in, the start of autumn, and I knew I'd be growing it through winter. So I thought, well, I'm not going to try and rescue a plant in that time. I don't think that's going to help. So I just started with something healthy. I've been really enjoying having access to Philodendron Gloriosum cheaper. They were, like, even last year I had a friend buy one from a nursery, like 3-leaf plant for 50 Australian dollars. And that's about 35 or 40 US dollars for comparison. And I was able to find one for 14 or 13, I don't remember exactly, at Bunnings, which is a big box store we have here, similar to your Home Depot. And so I was pretty stoked with that. It was very small, didn't have many leaves. To give it the best chance of growing big leaves, because I wanted that, those bigger than dinner plate sized leaves in the 5 months that we had, I decided to take a risk. I'm going to put it in a bigger pot than I should be putting it in, just with really well draining soil, so lots of perlite. Sunniest spot in the house I could find, so it was nice and warm, and it's done really well. I'm really stoked with how well it's done. I actually had a plant another philodendron that I bought slightly beforehand, Gloriosum, and I haven't repotted, and its leaves are much smaller. So there's a control and an experiment group, so upsizing the pot has worked very well for me, and I'm very pleased with the plant that I've got from it. I realized at some point that Philodendron Gloriosum aren't climbers. I should really have done my research before I started this, and that's a learning from my part. I assumed, because lots of other philodendron varieties, including the Philodendron Glorious, they climb and they are glorious, but Philodendron Gloriosum, they spread. So they're not climbers. So whilst I think that this moss pole, this coir pole, is still a good idea in that it props it up and it stops it from spilling over, I think that with the next Philodendron Gloriosum that I have, which I do have one, I'm going to try not staking it just to see what happens. I want other, big philodendron varieties like this one that I can grow upwards in the future, but I'm still really happy with how this is looking. The moss pole, the coir pole, sorry, is doing its job in the space as well. It's helping it to keep it up, but I recognize that, this is possibly not best practice. It's still looking really good though. Let's get to the judging. I'm only going to show parts of the judging and our conversation that are relevant to this particular plant. I'm not going to show you anybody else's plants really. I encourage you to go and watch their videos to see them, because there are some amazing transformations which I really think that you are going to enjoy. If you enjoy seeing a plant change in the course of half a year, you're going to love what some of these folks have been up to with their plants. So I really encourage you to do that. Without any further ado, I was thrilled to see that this person was our judge.
Hey guys!
So thanks so much, Harley, for joining us for this. It was great to have you doing the judging. Let's see what Harley had to say about my plant.
I've been trying to figure out how many leaves this Philodendron Gloriosum has pushed out in the 5-month span. It's looking like 4-ish leaves, and impressively, they've like tripled in size from the original photo. Clearly, they've been taking very excellent care of this plant and have put a lot of time and effort and energy into it. They've added a cocoa fiber stake to help train the plant up, which I'm sure has played a big part in the larger leaf size, and that was really excellent forward planning of this person to do that. Although the cocoa fiber pulls aren't really my favorite, I do think in this case it looks really nice with the Gloriosum matched with the terracotta planter and saucer, and I can't see the whole plant stand, but it looks like the plant stand that this is sitting on looks great as well. This person and plant did a really great job growing in the 5-month span. I'm pretty impressed by this one.
Thank you so much, Harley, for your kind words. I was, really pleased. I was flattered actually by some of the things that she had to say. So thank you so much for that. Some good feedback as well. So thank you. Let's see how she ranked me against all of the other plant YouTubers.
Second place belongs to Philodendron Gloriosum for the overall really awesome presentation as well as quite impressive plant growth.
So second place, I'm pretty happy with. Especially because some of the plants out there were really amazing and I had some really tough competition. So I was really grateful. So thank you, Harley. I know you didn't know it was me, but thank you for your time and I really appreciate it. I'm not going to show you Christina from Leafy Luster. I'm not going to show you her winning plant, but it is spectacular and you really should go and see it for yourself. It's just really fantastic and she really deserved the win for this one. There we have it. There are a bunch of other videos to do with this challenge that you can go and enjoy. I have left them all in the comments below. They're fairly high up there and I really encourage you to go and seek them all out. I want to especially thank Lee from Kill This Plant for setting this whole thing up. There's a lot of logistics. I know that I was not particularly easy to work with on this one. I've been very, very busy. So thank you for your patience, Lee, as you've coordinated all of this, including Zoom calls across, I think it was like 5 different time zones, which is not an easy task. Having done some collaborations myself, there's a lot of logistics involved. So I just want to thank you, Lee, for organizing all of this. Thank you all of the other plant YouTubers who participated in this. It was great to, just kind of progress with you and see your plants, what you did with them. Thank you, Harley, for judging. It was a real treat to have you come in and have a look at our plants. And thank you for watching. This is not the kind of video that I usually make on this channel. I love plants, obviously, but usually I focus more on specifically avocado trees, but occasionally we delve into other plant-related things. If this is your first video here, it's been great to have you. I encourage you to explore the rest of my channel to see what else is here. Again, I encourage you all to go and check out the links in the description to all of the other plant YouTubers' videos. Some of these YouTubers that I've linked down there, I hadn't heard of before this challenge, so it was really nice to kind of get to know them a little bit and their plants and what they do on their channels, and I really encourage you to go and do the same thing. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm not going to plug anything else, but I encourage you to subscribe to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree. Thanks once again for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Magnus is definitely joining us there, aren't you, mate? I mean, you can sit there if you want. All right. Fair enough.
Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree.